yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel locked in on everything Juventus, all right? I got Omer, I got Trim with me today, and panic starting to set in with some in the fan base. We're 16 days out from kickoff, and squad's looking a little thin, at least for the friendly today against Brest, and I will be bringing a live watch along for that game, but we're going to tackle all the latest in news, transfer rumors, etc., as we might starting to see pressure not only ramp up for Giuntoli, but also him applying some pressure to some of the guys on the roster, and Moneyball. It's all about Moneyball right now, but Giuntoli, is he playing it a little bit too much? We're going to tackle it all together right now, all right? And first off, we got to see how the fellas are doing. Lads, how you doing? Trim, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Looking forward to today's game. Just to see kind of the more ready-made players and some of the newer guys, new old guys, and Louise, actually, I'm really excited to see today, just because I didn't get a chance to watch him a fair bit with Villa, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, no, all good.
There we go. Omer, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm great. Hello, everyone. Hi, Al. Hi, Trim. Good morning. Yeah, I can understand some of the fans getting nervous. I'm getting a bit nervous myself. But still, we have a game today, and there are a lot of positive things on the way, too.
Yeah, we'll take a look, see how everybody's feeling through the Mercato. We've got some fun stuff too, in types of predictions of how we think the Mercato is going to end, and of course the latest round of news. As yesterday, people got pretty fired up because it did sound like we had Koopmeiners wrapped up, whatever, but we're still waiting for somebody that's credible to actually hit us with that one, all right? But we're going to take a look. Real quick, though, we are going to just get some of the housekeeping out of the way. You guys, there's a link in the description to this video. We are official partners with PLAYBACK TV. Next live show coming up very, very soon. All of those are call-ins, which means that you in the live chat can actually take part in the show and be on stage, all right, through audio or video. Make sure you join us in our room over there. The other thing is subscribe if you haven't, all right? The next giveaway is already up. We already gave away one of the official third kits for 24-25 season. The latest, you got a chance at winning both a home and third kit, all right? So don't waste any time. Smash that subscribe button, all right? And everybody else, you guys know the drill. Like the video while you're dropping in here. Share the content, all right? We appreciate all the support. Now, we will take a quick second, say what's up to everybody in the live chat right now. Yori, ciao, Juventini. Mikey P, good morning, Juventini. Matteo, good morning, lads. Let's go. Lots of news to wake up to today. Hey, that's Mercato Madness, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Swarit, it could be a tough one for you today. We are definitely going to take a look at Mr. Fede Chiesa, and he is not on the list for the game today against Brest. And obviously, again, something I was talking about, Giuntoli ramping up the pressure on guys. We got Reno Z there. Ciao, ciao, buongiorno, and ciao, guys. What is happening with Juve right now? Well, let's get into it, okay? Let's get into it. So, there's a lot of mixed feelings, I would call it, with the fan base in terms of, you know, how long certain moves are taking. And now with 16 days out from kickoff, a lot of question marks in terms of Giuntoli and why he is just not getting things done and moving through this a lot quicker, all right? So there's a lot of scenarios, there's a lot of factors around it all, not just the additions he's trying to make, but also the players that we're trying to move. And I've said it for quite some time, and it's really sinking in. And if it hasn't sunk in, you really need to wrap your heads around it, because it's Moneyball. 1000% it is Moneyball. He was walking into a scenario with guys on inflated pay. And not only that, but he was walking into a laundry list of expiring contracts. And if you go down the list, these guys that are on those expiring contracts, they're all kind of getting the same treatment. And I feel like literally, if you're looking at this scenario, it's quite clear. You have these guys that if they stay, it has to make sense for us on terms. If not, it is more beneficial to this team to get some capital and try and move on. Even if you are going to spend money on a purchase of a player, you're still better in the long run than renewing most of these guys. And that's what the case is. It is Moneyball, 1000%. But is he playing it a little too strict with Moneyball? And that's when the questions start to get asked, especially around Fede Chiesa. Because we wake up to the news, and it was expected even yesterday. And I put it out yesterday, like, he's not expected to be on the list. None of these guys are. McKennie, Kostic, Rugani, etc. Like, even Jallo is not on the list, and he's just up for loan. So, is Giuntoli, when it comes to a guy like Fede Chiesa, especially given the alternatives and stuff, is he taking the Moneyball thing a little bit too extreme in your opinions? And we're going to start this one off with Omer.
Maybe, perhaps. I mean, some of this is maybe us realizing how low the Juve stock has dropped for some of those players, and maybe it just shows how bad we were in the last couple of years and how hard it is to ship out those players. Some because of salaries, some because there's just no market for them. Um, but I don't know, something appears to be stuck in Juve's negotiations. It's hard to say why. Even the reporters that we follow and are the most credible for news are kind of more reactionary to what's going on. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what's holding everything back. Maybe it's Moneyball. Maybe money is that tight that everything needs to be calculated, like to the last euro. So it's interesting. I have no idea what's happening right now. I don't know why a guy like McKennie with 10 assists, who apparently had a good season, as a lot would claim, just can't find a club.
Yeah.
A lot of low interest. So I don't know what to make of it. I guess things will come to light in the next few weeks, maybe even next week. But I'm waiting to see. I'm like still on the same page I was last week, because we said we were expecting some deals to get done by this week, and nothing has happened yet in terms of incoming. So I'm kind of in the same spot.
Yeah, interesting. Trim, what do you think? Is he playing a little too tight with the Moneyball? And should we be revisiting something with Fede?
Yeah, like, I mean, the easy thing here to kind of point out and notice is that in going down this road and this strategy of the money ball, what it seems like he's doing, it's like it's taking away from the quality of the team too, right? Because a guy like Chiesa, we know his quality, even though he hasn't shown it consistently enough over the last few years for some fans. He's still a quality player. So to potentially be losing out on someone like that, and then seeing what the rumors are in terms of targets for potential replacements or reinforcements, if you want to call it, they're not exactly up to that quality. So that's why I think a lot of the fan base is getting pretty frustrated, myself included. Like, I wouldn't say I'm frustrated. I wouldn't say I'm panicked just yet. But to touch on what Omar said, we alluded to last week that we were thinking a couple more deals might get done by this week. We're here now and nothing's really happened. I think we're also a little bit frustrated in terms of like the outgoings. We thought, he was off to a really good start, obviously at the beginning of the Mercato, and now it's kind of slowed down. But to be fair to him, a lot of that is on the players that are still hanging around and remaining, like a Szczesny, like a Weston McKennie. Those guys I think eventually will go. I think the ones that the one I'm more concerned about is a guy like Arthur. But I think even with him, something will get done. But anyways, just to kind of wrap it up with this, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in between like mixed feelings, mixed emotions, right? But I'm trying not to get too overly concerned, because I really do feel like he's done a really good job. And I think that that's clouded over everybody's kind of judgment right now is because of what's gone on lately. I think if we do end up landing and securing Coop, that'll kind of help. But it's definitely, a little concerning with these outgoings. And yeah, I would say it's definitely it. You get the sense that he's really trying to do the cleanup so swift and vastly quick that it's taking away from the quality of the team, and we're going to see that today with the roster that's going into this friendly game.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. When I look at the scenario he walked into with contracts, with the wages the guys were on, and where we're at now, the moves that he's done have been solid moves. All the pieces of business he's finalized, I've agreed with. I think the salaries are spot on. I mean, I have no issues with anything right now. And again, if we're talking about TikTok on Giuntoli, which, I mean, I can kind of sense that 16 days out to kickoff, whatnot. But some of the questions I have are more so like, why are negotiations starting if you're that interested in a player, like the second you have Sule and Hoyson move? Like, could we not have started the negotiations in anticipation of making those moves? Like, it's like, did he actually, in fact, wait that long to even begin these talks, and why? Like, stuff like that is just kind of strange to me, right? Why not know exactly where you need to be before you get to that point to kind of make things a little bit more swift? Maybe there are alternatives. People out there are feeling like there are no alternatives and we're putting all our eggs in that basket. I highly doubt that he doesn't have alternatives should things go sideways, okay, with Koopmeiners, with Todibo, etc. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot that he's juggling right now, and it's difficult when you're trying to move out players, and right now he is left with nothing that's easy. McKennie, like, is McKennie going to be interested in this Fiorentina move? The rumors are, yes, he could be interested. But we have to wait and see. Like, Szczesny's at a standstill now. We're waiting for offers. We're just sitting there. Rugani looks like he's going to end up going on a dry loan. And you are set to loan out Jallo. So a little bit of depth there is going to be hindered in that whole thing.
Look, we knew it. We knew that it's going to be one hell of a mission. Maybe that's the reality of it. You can't have it all in one summer. The problems were too deep to be solved in the span of 2 months, and some of those players will survive the Mercato and stay with Juve another season, probably, because there were too many of them. Too many players needed to be shipped out with not a lot of market value. And
Yeah.
that's what he had to juggle with, getting rid of some players, selling some who might be better off staying, and refilling the squad with youngsters, some more experienced players, and building something that suits Mota. That's one hell of a mission,
Yeah.
considering he got his staff like a month ago. Before that, he was pretty much working alone. Yeah, so that's
If
the reality of rebuilds. It doesn't happen suddenly.
if I was going to talk about like why maybe, again, stalling these talks, or why not work out and figure out your number before, etc. I think there's a lot of things at bay here too, and I think like knowing and seeing as the Mercato goes on probably changes his thought process and his wavelength as well, because if he's seeing how difficult some of these other guys are, where their value is, and if he's going to be able to find those moves, he's probably thinking, okay, I might have to shift things a bit here, because if now all of a sudden you're trying to get the best deal possible you can for Todibo and Koopmeiners to try and squeeze out a winger out of that scenario too, if something doesn't go your way with these other moves. So it does change everything. Just because you can go up to 60, which we could right now if we wanted to. If he wanted to, he could have went the 60. We have enough in the Sule deal to tackle a 60 mil purchase on Cope with his salary. But is that the most beneficial for us? Of course not. So he's doing his due diligence and working things out. As far as the timing, Yeah, it's a difficult task, and some saying, well, just scrap it. We're running out of time. I still stand firm. You go after your top targets. I'm done with settling when it comes to targets and Juve. I feel like we've settled for so long before Giuntoli's even come along, other than crazy splash signings, and then settled with just a ton of patchwork. Everything has made sense up to this point. Koopmeiners makes sense. Todibo makes sense. Get them over the finish line. If it takes another week, it takes another week. At the end of the day, I still say your top priority is the strongest possible starting 11 that you could provide this team. The depth will be an ongoing part of the build, as well as integrating the youth in. People are worried, I feel like, too many different things. Now it's time. Now it's the Italians on the roster. Now it's the youth. We're strongest possible 11. We have 16 days till kickoff. Give me the strongest possible 11 that you could possibly, and that's where I'm at. I don't care if it takes another week. Are you guys, there, or are you at the point where some are saying, look to the alternatives, but complete your squad immediately? Trim.
Yeah,
Or sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna let Trim go here.
Yeah, no, I'm still of the same belief that no, get the top guys done, and you hit the nail on the head, Berto. Like in terms of squeezing out the best possible deal for the top guys, sure, because it's a big value in terms of Coop. At least, like I can see why he's trying to get the best deal possible. But like you said, we have the money to get these two guys. I think he's really focused on just trying to balance the books and have a little bit of budget so he's not overextending, because he doesn't know there's uncertainty with these guys and that are needing to be sold, like Tech and West. But like I said, I think they're gonna get those done. So no, I'm not. I'm of the belief that get those top guys done and then worry about the rest.
Yeah. Omer?
Well, my sense is that no one has any idea what's going on in the Koopmeiners deal anymore. We've seen a lot of contradicting reports. Everyone predicted it will be done by now. It isn't. Coop is still an Atalanta player. And now we're just seeing a lot of rehashed news. So my understanding is no one knows where it stands right now. It seems to be a done deal, only a matter of some minor details in the maybe contract, maybe deal with Atalanta. The rumored price right now was 51 plus 4, which is actually less. And it's not surprising. All the deals that we had so far had been less than what was reported.
Yeah.
And so the numbers are reported by the news. The 60 million price tag didn't come straight from Atalanta. So 55, we've discussed it a lot, actually. And do you like the 60 million price tag, or should we go aim for lower? So is 55 okay?
It's fine for me.
I think it's okay. I'm okay with 55.
I was okay with 60. When we had, like, when you're looking at other players, when you're looking at their values and stuff, like, yeah, I mean, it would make sense to me based on some of these price tags on other guys. Hell, we were looking at Adeyemi, who was at 50 million. The guy should be on a flyer. Yeah. So why the hell shouldn't Atalanta ask for 60 mil for a top 2 mid in Serie A? Why not? Top 2, top 3 mid in Serie A. I'm fine with it. And at the end of the day, like, again, going back to the money ball, we've got, like, our guy we kind of spent, like, it's 51.5 all in for Douglas Luiz. Okay? It was 20 mil on a flyer for Kefren Turam. Okay? 60 mil on Cope. That's the guy you're going to be banking on more. You've got your flyer in there for Turam, and then you've got another guy you're going to kind of be banking on with Douglas Luiz. Like, the work is still fantastic. What's not being highlighted when everybody's looking at this and like, holy, we're going to spend all this. We're already at like something like 90 mil in the Mercato for expenditures. But what nobody's looking at is, out of the sales, how much of that is actually capital that he picked up on. So it's still great work. But Koopmeiners for me is still a must. 50-55. Now the rumors, because I see some in the live chat talking about, oh, that Pogs is a good source there or whatnot. Well, look, I considered it the news yesterday of the deal being done. I considered it still no go. Those two sources that put it out there, one is an actor, the other is Pogs. No disrespect to him, but I'm waiting for actual sources to come out and say it. As far as that deal, if it was 50 plus 5 mil, 51 plus 4 mil, whatever. But the stipulation that was put in there was they keep him until after that Euro Super Cup. Your thoughts on that hypothetical deal, Omer?
Well, with children, literally dealing with children. I'm sorry, I have no leverage in these negotiations. I don't know what to make of it. It's just stupid. I mean, loan him out for one match.
Trim.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. I personally don't care, but I just find it hysterical that they want to keep him for that game. It's like, I don't know. If the deal gets signed, then it's official. I mean, the guy can decide to do whatever he wants. I'm sure he's going to be on the first flight to Torino to get with the new squad because he clearly wants to come. The agent I saw with the reports this week, you guys doing the reporting in the news, that the agent's even trying to put a little bit of pressure to get the deal done because he sees that his client really wants to just get it over with and get to Juve. So I don't know. I can't see him sticking around just to play that game. If they do get it officially signed, the contract, I think he'll end up in Torino.
I laugh
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it, and
if
when
he
I
gets
first saw
injured
it, and I
in that
immediately
match.
had to put out there, like, how much is it worth to you, that one game? Because if we work out a deal and you want him for that one extra game, okay, well, Doc, the bonus can fly away, and now we're at 50. And you know what? We're going to take a little bit back off that. We'll go to 48. You can have him for that one more game, you know?
Let's have a deal. Let's make a deal. Like, we pay 60, which is what you wanted. You can get him for that game, but if he gets injured or suspended, we get 40 million back. How is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's hilarious to hear about the stipulations like that and whatnot. But with Koopmeiners still, I'm waiting. But I'm gonna have faith. Like I said, I just have felt for a long time that Giuntoli will not let that one slide. I don't see him letting Koopmeiners slide. I also don't see him letting Todibo slide because we are hearing a little bit of a change this week with the Todibo news, all right? So it had gone completely silent pretty much for Todibo, and everybody was sending me messages like on all our platforms. It was Instagram, it was TikTok, it was on the YouTube dailies, like, what's going on with Todibo? Finally, yesterday, we get an update, and the news out of England is that West Ham's offer is far superior to that of Juve's. The other report is that you've got Juve pushing for loan with option with no obligation in there. And then another report is that it's the actual complete total value that is stalling the move. So a lot of contradictions in there. And that's why I kind of laugh too, because, you know, this panic that can set in, and I see it everywhere. I see other channels. I see everything kind of like, oh, it's panic mode. The media's doing that, whatever. No, it's not panic mode. Okay, it's not panic mode. And I'll tell you why it's not panic mode is because it's media. The media is creating the contradictions. Until I see someone at Juve actually panicking, or if I hear stuff out of Turin where they are literally panicking, I'm not going to panic. So we have major contradictions with the media. We have some people putting certain characters in the media a little bit higher up than I think they should be, which is also creating this kind of frenzy amongst the fan base. But I'm actually just not there. I'm just not there yet. And I'm still completely calm. With Todibo, I believe Giuntoli will get the deal done. The fact that he has these guys, the fact that, okay, West Ham's there, but we have full, and this is the one thing that's constant no matter where the news comes from, England, Italy, whatever, Todibo wants Juve. Koopmeiners wants Juve. Those are the main key things to hang on to. Because with that, Giuntoli has the freedom to try and get the best possible deal we can. A friendly against Brest isn't going to be make or break for these guys coming in. You know? And to be honest, with how we were going to bring them in and the time frame, they wouldn't have probably played anyways. So for me, all is still on track. And I think with today's friendly and the lineup, which we will get to in a bit, now you start to see Giuntoli turn the screw and start to put a little pressure, I think, and start to show them the signs that, guys, nothing's changing. And I think it was a big move with Fede, okay? But in terms of more rumors, you know, we talked about that, Koopmeiners, Todibo. I don't think Juve's going to lose out on Todibo. Nico Gonzalez came kind of out of the blue. That one just kind of just popped up out of nowhere. 2 days ago, what was interesting is that Atalanta all of a sudden made a press for Gonzalez. And the first immediate thing that popped to my head was, did Giuntoli just sniff out one of their targets and make a push to kind of light a fire under their ass with Koopmeiners? That's the first thing that popped to my head. And I'm like, man, if he did that, masterstroke. But did he? Or was that always one of Atalanta's targets? Is Atalanta starting to spend the money before they get it? I don't know. What did you guys feel about the Nico Gonzalez? I put it in a poll question. Do you want Nico Gonzalez? 68% are yes on Nico Gonzalez. So we'll kick this one with Omer. What'd you think when that whole ordeal happened and Atalanta all of a sudden pressed? And what do you think of Nico Gonzalez?
Well, first of all, it's not the first time because they are looking for, what's his name, O'Reilly from Celtic. And his name was suddenly linked to Juve like a week ago. So maybe it's just some of Giuntoli's methods, trying to put their fire under their ass and get the deal done. A lot of fans are actually asking why aren't we going straight for O'Reilly? I mean, he should be a lot cheaper than Koopmeiners. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did that. Now, having said that, Nico Gonzalez is a phenomenal player, like the best player at Fiorentina by far. I never looked his way. First of all, he's a bit of injury prone, and I couldn't imagine Fiorentina selling their best player to us. But he had a good season. He had like 12 goals and 2 assists for a winger. That's not bad at all. So yeah, I would gladly take him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah. Trim, what'd you think about that whole Gonzalez situation?
Oh, it's old school. It's like a Mudgy-esque kind of move there. If he definitely sniffed it out, but at the same time, like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a whole heck of a lot if that's a player that Motta and Giuntoli are interested in. I mean, he's a good player. Like, I'm just looking at his stats: 30 goals the last 2 seasons, all comps. Like, he's a pretty decent player. I know he's got some injury history, but I mean, at this point, look at all the targets that we've been looking at lately. Like, majority of them have some kind of injury past or injury history. That's just part of the game. So, I mean, to Omar's point, you think about it more and you're like, well, it's Fiorentina. Are they really going to sell potentially their best player to Juve? From that standpoint. But, I mean, just the sheer fact that Atalanta is definitely looking and is interested in acquiring him. We want Coop. I don't know if it's necessarily going to help us get him faster, but I mean, hey, it's pretty simple. We want to get Coop. Just give us Coop. Let's negotiate a fair deal, and then if we can acquire Gonzalez as well after that, that'd be great. I've always been like I mentioned it in the group chat this week, like, Coop's the number one for me. So anything after that is gravy, but that's what I care about most. If for whatever reason we miss out on him, I'll be pretty disappointed, and then we'll see what the other options are after that.
If we're looking at this, and again, I see some of the comments, if he did, it didn't work in terms of trying to light a fire under Atalanta's ass, but didn't it work though? Do we think it's coincidence that we put a first offer, which we knew was going to get rejected, and then all of a sudden we push for Gonzalez out of nowhere from never hearing anything from Atalanta? All of a sudden they press for Gonzalez, And then you start getting, albeit weaker sources, starting to say that the deal is at the final details, like it's getting wrapped up, it's down to future sell-on and stuff. I don't really think it's coincidence, man. Like, I don't know. And again, even with the O'Reilly thing and everything, like, even with what Giuntoli's doing with these guys on expiring contracts, that's all a touch on the old school, man. Like, freezing out, not going through, like, when I spoke about the Chiesa situation, I said things could get ugly. I actually did anticipate them maybe keeping him out of first team training and training with the young guys and stuff. I honestly, like, I wouldn't have been surprised. He strikes me as a no-nonsense touch on the old school Giuntoli. But again, let's see how it plays out. For Nico Gonzalez, out of nowhere, I mean, yeah, I'd have no problems with him coming in. Like, I'd have no problems with it whatsoever. He's just another one of these targets that are around. With Fede Chiesa, what the hell is the situation going to be? I see a lot saying, like, talk about this Raspadori swap. Well, I don't know if it's going to happen or if it would happen. Raspadori has been apparently appreciated by, like, Giuntoli and Motta for the versatility that he could bring in, that he could provide. At this point, I'm going to be quite honest, it's going to be about numbers with Chiesa. And we go back to Moneyball. Like, are we going to be in a situation where it's more beneficial to use him for a season and keep him around and consider this a very expensive loan for 1 year? Or is it more beneficial to us to try and explore these deals and get some capital in it and also potentially bring in a player that could help the cause? For me, Raspadori's always been this funny player for me because, like, there's times where you could see it and you're like, okay, this guy would actually be a slick little pickup, can cover multiple positions across the front. But his consistency sucks. He made a move to Napoli where you knew he wasn't going to get the top minutes, and that's what you wanted to see. And you haven't seen it. So Raspadori is a very strange one for me. He's always been this one I've kind of flipped on mentally, and I don't really know. You know, with Chiesa, I can't help but thinking, despite the money ball, despite the everything that's beneficial about making a move, getting capital, I can't feel that a bridge renewal isn't still the best play. However, it appears that is completely off the table from both sides now, Chiesa and Juve. But the Raspadori, this potential swap, Trim.
Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of flipped on him too. Like, there's been periods of time where I've liked his game. I've liked what he's brought. And then he's kind of just disappeared. To your point, I remember we were saying last year too, the Napoli move never really made sense because who they have up front, they got a lot of depth. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would personally, if we're gonna move Chiesa, I'd personally like to just get the cash and then decide what we're gonna do with it, rather than going with a swap to Napoli for Raspadori. In saying that, selfishly, if we're going to move Fede, I'd like to move him outside of Italy as well. But it seems like with some of these players, Juve and Giuntoli's best options are, for whatever reason, moving them to Italian teams. Example, Sule to Roma. You know, it would have been nice to go to Leicester, but the player ultimately decided he wanted to stay in Italy. I kind of feel like Fede might do the same. And this is why I know it'll lead us to another topic with Fede about the interlinks and possibly leaving on a free. I still don't think it's going to happen because Juve is not going to allow him to just play the season and leave on for free. But there's still a little bit of, you know, troublesome and worrying thoughts about him potentially going to Inter. I mean, I don't know why he would. It doesn't really make sense based on like their team and their lineup, their structure and roster, all that. But yeah, I don't know. For me, if we're going to move Chiesa, sell him, get the money, and then decide what you want to do with the potential targets that we're interested in.
Yeah. It's a 64% no on Chiesa Raspa swap. Omer, Let's get you weighing in on that whole situation.
Yeah, I'm kind of on both sides of the fence. Um, First of all, Raspadori, my main issue with him is I don't know what his best position is. He's kind of like Dybala in that sense. He's not really a winger, but not a sole striker. We've seen that attempted with Italy and at Napoli. It wasn't all that great. He's more like a free roaming player, and I don't see where he kind of fits at Juve. But if Mota wants him, then he probably has a good reason. Now, Chiesa, I want the money, but when you make a sale and now you have 20 million and you're looking for a replacement, other clubs know you just got a lot of money and they afford themselves to ask you for more. And we've seen how long these deals take. We thought Koopmeiners was done, Todibo was done. Apparently, it isn't. We don't have a lot of time. So if we gotta let Chiesa go, and his story with Juve is done, it seems,
Yeah.
then do it right now. Get someone in return without all the deals. Get some Plus Valenza because he is still a better player, and Raspadori, and just be done with it.
Yeah.
I feel like getting money would get us stuck again in some negotiations, and we'll probably have to overpay or settle for someone because of the time limit and the fact we just made some money. So if you
Yeah.
can get a swap deal, yeah, I'm fine with it. Heartbreaking to see Chiesa go that way, but if it's done, it's done. Just rip the band-aid and move on.
Yeah, it's kind of getting to that point, and it appears done. I mean, we've got a friendly today. He's kept out. It all the signs are there. So now it's time to figure this thing out and move forward. A bit of a shame how it all played out. I don't think it's how anybody would have written the story for Chiesa Juve. These rumors with Inter, there are a lot of rumblings that he's already having spoken with Marotta, and the deal is to play out a year, stay and then go there on a free or whatever. We'll see how it all plays out, but I mean, if something like that were to go down, I mean, it would tell me a lot about Fede, to be honest. There's a lot of things being said, and a lot of claims about him, and ungrateful is a word that comes up a lot. But to be honest, without knowing this situation fully and everything that's gone on behind closed doors, I don't think, we can really say he's ungrateful or anything like that. We have no idea how any of this has really gone down. I still stand firm. It's a money thing, it's a value thing, it's a little bit of an ego thing, and it's just been a Giuntoli Chiesa thing, and I've said it from almost the outset. I've never seen it be a Thiago Motta does not want Fede thing. If anything, Motta's indifferent. Motta says, just give me the guys and I'll work with who we have. But with who we have, still, a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done there. And we're going to have some fun here in terms of, how do you see this Mercato ending if you have to give a prediction? And there was a comment in there about selling and our weakness in selling. I'm going to touch on that right after we do this prediction thing as far as how we see this Mercato playing out. For Storm the Barn, questions, everybody, fire away. I see there's already a few in there I've highlighted. Fire away whenever you're ready, okay? But we're going to do the predictions. Omer, your best guess at how this Mercato is going to end?
What do you mean? You got to direct me a bit more.
What
Like
is
in
your
terms of
prediction
what
for
we
the
sign?
signings? How does our Mercato end? Coming in, going out.
Okay, I think we'll have about four more signings. Let's say right now it seems like Todibo and Coop are guaranteed signings. So two more. Definitely a winger. I don't know where. I mean, most of the options are off the table now, so gotta be someone new. And my best guess would be someone for the attack, but depends who survives the Mercado. Either Milik or Kostic or McKennie. One of those guys will survive the Mercato, and that will affect where we're aiming. Um, so I believe like four more signings and let's say three departures of like first team players.
All
I
right.
guess that Tech one guy will stay. I don't know what's going on with Deshilia right now. Rugani seems to be on his way out. Jallo on his way out for loan. Even Gonzalez seems like he's on his way out. Some for loan, some for sales. Yeah, there's still a lot to be done, isn't there?
There's still a lot of work. There's still a lot of
Yeah.
work. I've always, and this is why I've had, some say this soft spot for Giuntoli. It's not a soft spot. It's really just an understanding of how much work he had to do coming into this squad,
Yeah.
But Trim, what's your prediction for how this Mercato is going to end for Juve?
Okay. Well, and I hate to do this, but with the assumption that we land Coop and Todibo, I believe, like Omar saying, that there will be 4 signings total. So those 2 guys plus another 2. I'm hoping and thinking it'll be 1 guy in the attack. That's providing we're actually able to move Milik. But at the same time, if we can't move Milik, I think he obviously sticks around as a vice Vlahovic. And that 4th signing would be, for me, I'm thinking a right back, especially now with potentially Jallo going out on loan. I know we still have coverage with Danilo and possibly Gatti as an option, but I can see them
And
looking at
Savona.
a cheaper, Savona as well. I can see them looking at a cheaper right back option or someone that's versatile and can play right back as well. But I don't know. I do, like Omar just mentioned, Savona. I like those young guys, even Rui. I don't mind them sticking around and playing,
Oh,
getting
I
minutes and
mentioned
playing.
him. I mentioned him because Mirko said today that it looks like he's going to stay with the first team for the rest
Oh,
of the
there you
season.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. So yeah. And that being said, hey, maybe it's not a right back, but still, I still think we need a couple more signings to go with Coop and Todibo because of our depth, just all around the squad. So up front, and a backline guy potentially, or more than likely right back, because at center back I feel like we got good coverage, and left back we got Cabal and Cambiaso. Cambiaso's versatility as well. He can play right back. But I still think another defender, potentially on the right side, and someone up front. If we can get rid of Milik, we can move McKennie, Tech, and some of those other outgoings. If we can get that done, then that's what I see happening.
All right. My prediction, I'm staying firm. Koopmeiners comes in. Todibo comes in. You will see a fullback and you will see a winger. As far as outgoings, I think Szczesny will ultimately be saying goodbye. I feel like Milik will not. So I think we're not going to find something for Milik, and I think he's going to remain. That's why I say one winger. When it comes to Fede Chiesa, I'm not so sure we find a move, but maybe this keeping out of this squad makes Chiesa feel more inclined to kind of give us a day, and more inclined to take what actually is out there and find something with one of these teams, right? But the interest is ultimately low. And to be honest, the situation is out there. He's on a prove it type scenario for him in his career. If you're on a prove it type moment, teams are more inclined to wait that year and then pick you up on a free rather than splash, even if it is 20 or 25 million. They're more inclined to wait for that free. There's no rush from any team that was interested in Chiesa to jump on him now, because whether we want to admit it or not, he is on a prove it type scenario, no matter what it was for. Whether it was the playing system, the style, it's irrelevant. It's relevant, but it doesn't really matter because he's still at that prove it type scenario. And this whole thing started from funds. what he wanted versus what we were ready to give him. You know,
Well, the
I
market
think
doesn't lie.
the market
And
doesn't lie. And I think at the end of the day, maybe even Giuntoli thought it would be an easy sell and that he could use those funds because they weren't
look,
going to renew for the money that Chiesa wanted. So,
if it was a bargain, it would have already been out. I mean, there are a lot of things to value
yeah.
when you consider someone like Chiesa. I would have wanted to give him another season to see how his injury is developing.
But as
You're not
far
in a
as
rush to
the,
spend 40 million on someone who already had a torn ACL. You want to see how it goes.
and again, trying to figure out what's going to happen in this Mercato, given a Mercato prediction, I still have no idea that he moves despite what's going on with him being kept out of the squad list today. Like, I still could see him easily sticking around, and then you have a real ugly, ugly situation, right? Like I said, this thing was always probably heading down that road
Although,
where it was going to get ugly. But I'm going to say one winger, Koopmeiners, Todibo, and a fullback is probably going to round out the squad. Incomplete squad, that's been thrown out there. We're gonna be incomplete if that's the case. I think we were always heading that direction. That, you know, the year zero that was thrown out there, you could all see it a mile away, especially how Giuntoli came in to this market. He came in guns blazing, and we were like, okay, like cleaning house. And Moneyball, with these guys, the amount of guys he had in expiring contracts, it is what it is. So for me, it's clear as day. Like you're gonna have an incomplete side by the time the season hits off, and the amount of competitions and whatever, it is what it is. I still stand firm. Strongest 11. You work on the depth moving forward to progress, and then you look at integration. All those other things have to fall to the wayside. Right now, it's about giving Mota the best possible starting 11 that he can get. And I think especially in the midfield, he'll have a decent amount of depth there. In attack, we could potentially be very skinny. The attack's been my main concern for quite some time. Omer, you know, we talked about this a couple shows ago, you guys. The
yeah,
attack's
there was
going to
a
be iffy.
widespread acceptance. Like we posted the video, and everyone said, "Yeah, well, we feel the same way. The attack is way too thin."
Yeah.
Like maybe they're banking on some youngsters to be part of the roster. I mean, they have to. They have to. You can't go into a season like that, 5 competition with 2 strikers. You just can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing I just wanted to add is, you know, it's understandable to think it's incomplete, but what is our strongest part of the field right now this summer after the moves and the additions we've made? It's the midfield. And he completely transformed our midfield from last season. So we went from a team where we were still always a little bit thinner, let's say up front, because we still are, but yes, it's incomplete, but now our strongest position is a position that we needed stronger players at the most for the last how many years. So
Yeah.
for me, that gives
Yeah.
me a little bit more hope that at least we have more depth in the midfield, and that should help us going into this season. Again, it doesn't help, and it takes away from the fact that we're skinny up front, but I feel very confident that where he focused all his time and energy on was the midfield, and he completely transformed it in a month and a half. So that's pretty good. We have to always kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and we gotta not remember that we were complaining about the midfield for years. That was the main objective, and that was achieved.
Yeah.
Improving the midfield. That was a
100%.
big mission.
100%. So weakness probably went to strength. And again, it's all on paper. And none of that is going to matter if we can't put it together on the pitch. So we got to wait and see, all right? But there's work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. Year 0, you know? We'll see how it goes. Storm the Barn. We're going to get to Storm the Barn, and then we're going to look at who is in play for the game today against Brest. Reminder, I am doing a live watch-along. And reminder, while you're all in here, hit that like button, okay? Hit that like button. Let's go. For Pierre, put yourself in Chiesa's shoes. If you didn't receive any offers that you loved, would you run your contract down at the cost of deep animosity from all the Juve fans? So,
Would I?
does somebody want to tackle this first, or you want me to go first?
No, I can. I can start. Look, there is a risk for him in there. Like I would have not wanted at like my peak years, 26, 27, sitting on the bench for a season. That's really bad.
Yeah,
So Chiesa does have something at risk here,
yeah,
and just riding the bench for an entire season because he didn't want to renew. Um, no, I would have looked for a solution where I can play, because the offers that will come after the contract runs down will be from just lesser teams. You're expecting your, I don't know, Inter and Napoli and maybe Arsenal, some of those names that will take you to Champions League. A year of sitting on the bench will get you Fiorentina and other teams on your back. So yeah, I wouldn't have gone that route.
yeah. Trim, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, and to touch on Omar's point too, like he would have had the security with an extension, right? Because yeah, even let's say sticking around and playing out the year, even though I know Juve won't allow that to happen, and running out the final year of his contract, he risks injury, right? So it's like I don't know. Most athletes in that position with a year left in their contract would be looking to secure something, even if it's a 1 year extension, just to get that little bit of security, right? But I mean, I think that really paints a picture of Fede and his mindset, his belief, in himself and how he values himself compared to other players around the world and around Serie A specifically. So I don't know. It's a lot. I just, for me, like I said, I would have taken the security and just taken the contract extension. But I mean, I guess it's easier for me to
Well,
say because I'm a fan of the team, right?
that
Uh,
that's why he doesn't play today, right? There's a risk for Juve if he gets injured. That means
yeah.
he's
Exactly.
definitely out on a free because he's not going to renew. No one's going to buy him injured, so he's definitely leaving on a free next summer.
Yeah, it's
I think
definitely
that's more of the
dusted.
reason.
It's definitely dusted with him. But in terms
Yeah.
of putting myself in Chiesa's shoes, and if you didn't receive the offers that you loved, would you run your contract down at this deep animosity from the Juve fans? I mean, decisions, as much as we would like to think otherwise, these decisions are not made based on what the fan base thinks. No decisions from the club really come from what the fan base thinks, and no decision from players come from what the fan base thinks. And that's why sometimes we see certain things and whatnot. You get your odd ones, but that's more back in the day that you heard about these guys and the love that they got from the fan base and stuff like that. Like that is feels like something of the past, where they were like, oh, I could never do that to the club, especially with the fans and how much love they show me. That's shit you used to hear about in the 90s, and it faded. Even early 2000s, you could probably hear, and then it just faded with time. The reality of the situation is what I would do in Chiesa's shoes. I would honestly have realized where your market is and where it was a lot earlier on. He took the decision to bank on himself at the Euros. It went horribly wrong to the point where he ended up on the bench. Okay? Coming off the bench. And anybody could say whatever the hell they wanted to about, oh, well, using him as a super sub, no, it doesn't matter. The guy ended up on one of the worst Italy squads in a long time on the bench. His representation through all of this has been, in my opinion, unrealistic and shooting himself in the foot. So it's hard. Like, if I put myself in his shoes, I would like to think that my representation would have been a lot more on the ball with where my market was. And that's all I could say. I don't blame Fede. I put it more on the representation. That's as simple as I could put it.
It feels like he needs to take his career in his own hands and say, fuck it, wherever I play, I need to prove that I'm worth the salary that I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Because that's what most clubs are seeing. I mean, I don't think and this player is worth that much. Not money and not in transfer fee. And stop living on the name Chiesa and start proving that he deserves it. Maybe it comes from Juve if he eventually stays and says, you know what? I'm going to prove to Juve that I deserve a new contract. Or if he decides to leave, wherever he goes, he needs to lower his demands and prove that he's worth more
Yeah.
and then sign a new deal. That's how it works.
And going back to the Moneyball thing we talked about earlier on in this episode and Giuntoli and whatnot, we had this discussion so much. Players that are untouchable at Juve. There was a point, I remember, some of us were like, I don't really feel like anybody is untouchable, maybe outside Bremer, to be 100% honest. You know?
And even that report is funny because he's untouchable unless an offer of 60, 70. So he's not untouchable. There's
Well,
a
next
price.
year he's gonna have a release clause in there, which is a whole separate issue. But again, is Chiesa untouchable?
Well, he's obviously not.
No.
No, but in your opinion, if you're running this team, is he untouchable for you?
No.
No, no one. I don't think anyone is untouchable.
If the deal is right, I don't think there's really an untouchable on the squad, to be quite honest. And the closest guy I'd put to it is Bremer. But some feel that Fede, yes, is untouchable. And that's where the money ball comes into play, because then you're weighing out committing to this guy for a longer term. All right? So longer term, and he wanted a pay increase. But if he doesn't pan out, you would have been in a better situation in terms of annual cost to buy somebody on a lower salary and bring them in. That might have given you the same production we've seen last year out of Fede. So it's difficult to say. Do you believe the rumor with Fede is true with Inter? I would not be surprised. That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised, or would not be surprised at all.
Yeah.
It's Marotta. He sniffs out those deals.
These guys are working on freeze too. Like, look at this Mercato. The debt's there. They got to have these zero Mercatos. And, I mean, a free and kind of taking this piece from Juve. Yeah, I would not be surprised. If Fede miraculously ends up staying, do you see him being benched all season long?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. It's Italy. Like, there's a lot of personal feelings involved, and they can do it in Italy, but I don't think so. It would be unsmart.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. I really don't know.
I think he plays. If he stays, I think he's playing, which is just wild because none of this makes sense. Like, him staying does not make sense. But if he did hypothetically, then I mean, he's healthy. You gotta play him.
Let's connect it to the next question.
I would say it's about the reaction. Like, how is all of this going down? Right now, we're thinking, okay, he's out of the team for this friendly. It's all good, whatever. But what's going on there? Is Chiesa acting up behind the scenes? Like, what we don't know. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that maybe could lead to him getting benched. But honestly, your immediate reaction is no. You can't bench him, right? But if you're trying to set a tone, if you're trying to establish something, and if there's bad animosity behind the scenes, maybe.
Well, I want to tie it to a new question. Because we have seen the guys that are rumored to leave and that Juventus don't want them, they're not participating in all the tactical stuff. That's the report. They've been frozen out from the tactical stuff, except for Chiesa. Now, I don't know, maybe it's because he might stay and they couldn't sell him, or maybe just to calm down the media storm that's going around Chiesa for a couple of months now. I don't know why, but how do you feel about it? I actually don't like it, freezing those players out, because some of them might end up staying and you need them. to be in sync with the system. You can't bench McKennie, Chiesa, Kostic, Milik, all those guys you want out. Tech. Eventually, some of
No,
them might need to play. So, how do you feel about freezing players out from training? I
it's
don't
tough
like it.
to speak. It's tough to speak on any of this. Even like I just said with Fede Chiesa, your immediate gut reaction is yes, he plays, even if he stays this season. That's your immediate gut reaction.
Yeah,
The thing is all the outliers behind the scenes that you don't know about. Because if you're creating an issue and if you are becoming an issue, I would understand freezing you out. But to Omer's point, you're absolutely right. We can't go into a season, with no depth whatsoever just because we couldn't move a guy. But that's why I say these outliers that we have no idea, we're not privy to, that are happening behind the scenes, they really, really are ultimately what should be happening when it comes to freezing a guy out. When it says there's a difference between going to a player and saying, hey, we're going to be putting you on the market and looking at alternatives. And there's a big difference between we're done, we want you out. There's a big difference in the approach.
Yeah.
So is that approach that is being done with certain players steady amongst all of them? I don't think so. That's
no, it
media.
doesn't seem like it.
That's
It's different.
media creating that.
Yeah.
I think certain guys, yeah, it's going to be okay. It's like, okay, we put you on the market. There's nothing there. Like, nobody was able to work it out. It's fine. You'll be in the rotation.
Like, who's the last guy you've ever frozen out of the team?
Sadly, Mandzukic.
Yeah, but he was also shipped very quickly afterwards, and that was sorry. No, I think maybe Ramsey. Ramsey was probably the last one. 'cause
Ramsey
he
was frozen out, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, because he was playing for
Mandzukic, we
Wales,
had
but
not even training with the first team. He was training by himself.
Oh yeah, that's starting off on the wrong foot for Sarri, doing something like that to Mandzukic.
That was crazy.
Higuain,
Yeah,
maybe.
Higuain was frozen out and then had to return.
yeah.
Fuck.
Jeez. Yeah.
But yeah, Ramsey, those are the ones that immediately come to
Yeah.
mind. Yeah, I don't know. I just think the situation isn't on the level with all the guys. So I definitely don't see Juve freezing everybody out. No, but I think there's certain relationships that we'll find out and know where they're truly at, right? So it'll be interesting to see.
It feels like he has a situation is different than everyone else.
Yeah.
That,
100%.
that's the take I'm getting.
Yeah. And I actually, before we get to this next one, I do actually agree with this. We might have done Pipita pretty dirty.
Yeah.
And how all that went down. Now, I think that we get Todibo and Coop, and the Mercato will be over. No more players. Will that be a successful Mercato for you? So, as it sits right now, again, what's happening with these guys we tried to shop? Are they all just sticking around? So we got Milik sticking around. Does this factor in Rugani leaving and Jallo leaving, both on loan? Just that. Let's say
Nico
that
Lucci.
those are all the moves. Is it a successful Mercato for you, Trim?
Yeah, I think it still is, even if there's no other incomings. Never mind outgoings. If it's just strictly based on bringing in Todibo, Coop, and whatever else other pieces of business we've done, yeah, it's been a successful Mercato. We've completely retransformed the team. We brought in a new coach, new play style. Yeah, it's an easy yes for me.
Okay. Omer, is that a successful Mercato?
Well, okay, the renovation of the midfield and keeping Bremer, maybe even signing the Gregorio, that's an automatic, maybe a 6, maybe even a 7 for me. Now it all depends on the outgoings. I don't know, Nico Lucci. I still feel like the squad lacks depth at this moment, except for midfield and central defense. The rest, wingers, strikers, fullbacks, still missing a few players. I don't know. It's still like a 6, 7 for me.
I think overall, it would still be successful based on the work we did on the wages. If we're saying that Todibo and Koop come in, we're considering Chiesa staying this season. I would consider him playing until we know otherwise. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, that complete revamp, I think defensively will be good as well. Cabal, I think, was a stellar pickup on a cheap deal. Cambiaso around.
Adzic.
Weah will play up top. Adzic can bring some chops, but landing Koopmeiners would be big for me. And I would still consider it successful because it's more than what we thought could be accomplished in one window. Is it complete? No. Would you get a complete turnaround on where our roster had gotten in one summer with financial restrictions
Absolutely.
while trying to comply with FFP? Absolutely not. So for me, it is still a successful Mercato. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if he lands Koopmeiners, okay, and we bring Todibo, whatnot, for me, enough of a statement has been made by Giuntoli this summer. For sure. I would still say successful. Yes. The next one is from Faraz here, and it is, how do you guys feel about how Juve is handling this whole... so Chiesa, obviously a hot one right now. Is it right to just simply leave one of the most talented players in the league out of the squad? In a friendly, yes. If he's on the market, yes. Throughout the season, again, I think it's as simple as the relationship. Faraz, not knowing what's going on behind the scenes, really, we can't speak to it. We can't speak to it because we don't know. We don't know what's gone at Fede, and we don't know what Fede has gone at Juve with, right? So
Actually,
I'm just
no
gonna
one knows.
for right now, he's been on the market. Is it right to keep him out of the squad today? Yes. In my opinion, yes, for today.
Yeah, probably is. Like we said earlier, anyone gets injured and that's it. They're off the market. That's another season of paying their salary. That's another season of their price probably dropping even more. And yeah, I mean, Miretti just got injured, and that kind of killed any links of him having a loan or a sale. And so yeah, that's the risk. If Chiesa is injured in a friendly, Juve would pay the
Yeah.
price. Juve would
Yeah.
actually pay the actual price, like money wise.
Yeah. It is what it is. For today, he's on the market. He's a player that's on the market. He sits out. I get it. Mark 1. Right now, our forward line is 5.5 out of 10. If we get Gonzalez, it will rise to 6.5 out of 10. Are you happy with the forward line of Yildiz, Vlad, and Gonzalez? I am not. Okay. Well, it's a tough one here. I mean,
There's a big question mark here, and that is Vlahovic.
Hmm.
well,
Like,
there's many question marks.
yeah, but
It
he's like the constant in every lineup you put out right now with Juve. Vlahovic is the constant, and if he's having a bad season, then none of these lineups matter that much. I mean, it's all on him right now. If he has a horrible season, we don't have a lot of places to turn to
yeah.
and a lot of other options to try. So a lot of the market revolves around Vlahovic and his performances this season.
But I
That's
also
why, yeah, like Yildiz Vlahovic Gonzalez, not overly confident, but it can work out if Gonzalez can show that he's a good player for Juve and not only for Fiorentina, and like Bernardeschi, let's say. And if Vlahovic shows up, he's been on a bad streak in the past 6 months.
But the thing is, if he was that concerning right now so far already, I feel like you'd get a push from Giuntoli. Like something, we'd be hearing about something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
There could be another Cabal deal in the works. that no one knows about, like 24
Yeah.
hours and it was done.
But
And you were told there is another deal. Expect another deal like Cabal.
if we're talking about this lineup, Gonzalez, Yildiz, Vlahovic, no, I'm not like thrilled about it. However, we don't know until it actually plays out what it could be until we see it play out. And maybe, like, have you been surprised before by players? We've been surprised a lot of times. You know, cheap deals, expensive players. You never know which way it's going to go. We picked up Vidal and Pogba for a combined total of what, 3 million between the two of them. Pogba was 800K and I think a few million for Vidal. They ended up being rock stars for us. You just never
Yeah.
know what's going to actually happen and how a guy's going to fit in a system and how it's just going to all come together. It could look like a 6.5 out of 10 on paper. It could be a 9 out of 10 on the pitch. Does it leave me feeling confident? No, because on paper, it's nothing to write home about. That's the honest truth. However, it doesn't mean it's completely wasteful or not going to amount to anything. You just have to wait and see. Weah all of a sudden is getting crazy reviews. And apparently Malta really appreciates Weah. You've got Adzic in the mix, But again, we're relying on, and even Vlahovic is still young, everybody. I feel like we forget and we act like this guy is, in his 28, 29 years, he's nowhere close and still has growing to do. But it feels very, very light up top. But you had to figure out where you wanted to bolster. We definitely completely overhauled the midfield already. And if you add Cope, that probably makes a big difference in the attack too, seeing how his main play is 4-2-3-1 with Malta. I would factor that into the attack, and then it would make me feel a lot better about these guys if you got a guy like Cope just behind Vlahovic.
Yeah, I still want the link. It's the question of the link between the right and the left and the striker.
Yeah.
And it looks
Yeah.
good. Koopmeiners seems fine. Adzic is a hot prospect. I hope he lives up to it. Even if we settle on Goodmanson, that's a good option. Like, there are a lot of ways Juve can use that. Just to me, it feels a bit over dependent on how Vlahovic performs. But, it might not matter. I mean, Matri didn't have a phenomenal season when Conte first started. Like, we didn't have superstar lineup back then until Tevez came in and Llorente.
Yeah.
And the midfield did most of the work. Lichtsteiner, I mean, you can work around it.
Did Giuntoli weaken our position in selling by being too vocal on who was out of the program and let buyers know that we needed to sell individual players to buy the players we need? Trim.
I don't think so, because a lot of these players that are still yet to move and are pending, in the case of Weston McKennie, Tech, it's the player and or the agent that just, like McKennie is an example. He kiboshed the deal to Villa. We had the deal in place for Luis, right?
Yeah.
Tech, same thing. Saudi Arabia, a couple teams. He's still looking and ended up falling through with Al Nazar and another team. So it's 50-50. I can see it both ways. I get where Pino's coming from, but at the same time, no. I think it's in the case of the guys that are still hanging around for sales, like, it's the players that are dictating this. Chiesa, there's another example. Like Roma, we had the deal signed, ready to go.
Yeah.
And it ended up falling through because he didn't want to go or whatever the case was. But so,
Omer,
no, I would say no.
Yeah, Omer, what do you think about this one? Trim says no.
I don't know if it was Giuntoli who talked about his plan and what he wants to do. And yeah, maybe it was wrong. I still feel like if you're going to sell him anyway, it might, rip the band-aid as early as possible so it wouldn't be a distraction later on. Suddenly informing McKennie that he's out of the plan a week before the season starts. Just is not the way to do it. If you're going to do it as early as possible so the media storm can pass and you can continue focus on what you're doing. So I have no issues with them telling players they're out of the project as early as possible.
I think, honestly, it is what it is.
Hmm.
You transfer list players that you are okay selling.
Yeah.
Whether you have to list a player for transfer if you want to sell him, you have to put him out on the market. So the word's going to get
And
out because
it's
you're
fair to the
shopping.
player. And it's fair
Because
to
you're
the player.
shopping him. At the end of the day, there's either interest in that player or there is not. And that's the bottom line. As far as finding the deals, then the player has to agree terms as well, like Trim pointed out. But did Giuntoli weaken our position? I don't think so. And I would say no, he didn't weaken our position. And I'm going to tie this into, it's actually a great question, because it segues perfect into something I wanted to talk about that I alluded to earlier in the show, and that's selling. And the fan base has been hard on Juve for selling for quite some time. Okay? We are weak sellers, notoriously, all this. There's been an issue that dates back to even Marotta's time, okay? That is, it flies under the radar. And I've brought it up countless times over the years doing the show, and I've always said, and this is where I'm going to judge Giuntoli the most, is not for him walking into a shitstorm and trying to do his best to stabilize everything and move us forward. Where I'm going to judge Giuntoli the most, and where I think our biggest shortcomings are when it comes to selling, is that we have notoriously, dating back to Marotta, hung on to players for way too long. Way too long. Not knowing when to say it's time. It's time to take that money now, and it's time to revamp. Moji was an absolute freaking king at that. But Marotta got stung, and he stung us with that. And after Marotta, we know it was just complete disarray, and it was ridiculous. We were scattered. But this team has notoriously hung on to players for way, way, way too long. Way too long. Okay? There are guys you can understand you need to hang on to. Bandiera of some sort or whatnot, and you can make an understanding for it. But those are the guys that are willing to get almost criminally criminally underpaid. A guy like Chiellini, etc. But as far as us and selling, it's coming down to hanging on to the guys not knowing when to pull the trigger, to revamp and retool. Is this guy going to recreate that season? Is this guy going to be holding this value for the next 2 seasons? Who's available to us now that we could bring in if we throw that towards the books? It's been one of the major shortcomings. Everybody just looks at the immediate sell and selling being a problem, but why? Why is that selling an issue? These guys don't have that value. So that tells me you've hung on too long. You missed that point. Do you guys agree with me?
Yeah, we always had a problem selling. Not always, but like in the past decade. It's generally a problem in Italy, I think. Other leagues and other clubs know that Italy is short in cash, and no, they can drag out deals and they need the money, and most clubs prefer the money and rebuild every season. Juve can't afford that, and we don't have that luxury. Um, but some of those guys, yeah, that was brutal. The amount of time they stayed. I mean, Piazza, even the Shilio is still under contract. No idea how. It's 2025 almost.
I can remember Rugani having a deal at good money. We said
Yeah.
no. I remember Sandro on a 60 mil to Chelsea. We said no. It's countless. It's just always there that we just don't say it. And I get it because some are like, well, when you're performing, that doesn't apply to Rugani, but it does apply to the Sandro deal because at the time he was performing. And then it's like, well, why move and whatnot? And it just came down to how everybody felt about him at that particular moment. but it was a
Yeah,
lot of
but it's
money
so,
that you really could have retooled.
but
Yeah.
a lot of that is in hindsight. I mean, this might be, the future will turn out to be the best time to sell Chiesa. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we'll look at it in 3, 4 years and he hasn't performed for anyone else. And we will all say, like, "Oof, we got rid of him in time because he had nothing else to offer." Or maybe he goes somewhere else and start banging in goals and assists and
yeah,
getting unlocked. And we'll say, yeah, so we sold him
yeah.
for less money than we should have. A lot of it is in hindsight.
60 million in 2015 was crazy money. And again, for us saying that Sandro was a beast at the time, I have to admit, I was happy we kept him. Yeah, it's just that's a lot of money. And when you, again, it's weighing out your options on the flip side. And again, I can't go back to that time and think of who was available if we would have moved him, right? But it's stuff that
Mhm.
you think about, right? And then we got 100 million for Pogba, yes, and Pogba pushed for that move.
And then look how we spent the money. That too, right? That's the flip side
Yeah,
of it. How we
but that was a
invested.
record-breaking amount of money at the
Yeah,
time. Like he was
Yeah,
the most expensive player for one season until the Neymar deal.
Neymar. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's
So
crazy. It's crazy. So we did do that, but I just think in general we constantly have found ourselves in this carousel of hanging on to guys and getting caught. That is where I'm going to see if Giuntoli can excel at and at least thrive at and be better at than we have in previous years, right? So let's keep her moving here. Case of negotiations were a mistake. Giuntoli failed here. If he stays till the end of 2025, we should use him and not leave him out of the squad. I think Giuntoli is bluffing. What do you think? I have no idea if he's bluffing or not. No idea. But do I believe Giuntoli failed there? No. I don't think he failed there. Again, expiring contracts, it is more beneficial to us to sell these players rather than retain them. And I don't think it's a coincidence. You see all the guys on expiring contracts get treated a certain manner. And maybe they were lowballed. Maybe Chiesa was also lowballed. But hey, the reality is more beneficial to sell for the books. And again, playing Moneyball, who you can get on the back end, matching up production that wasn't astronomical. It's a reality
I
of it.
haven't.
But
At
yeah,
this point, I have no idea what happened. I don't know if it's Giuntoli or if it's Chiesa who just said, "I don't want to be here anymore," and the club told him, "Okay, but you're on the contract. You still must train, and if we want you to play, you play." Or is it the other way around? And the club told Chiesa the same thing, and they still have to let him participate in training.
yeah.
And so I have no idea what caused what preceded which event. So it's very hard to judge in this case who's in the right and who's in the wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
Just
much.
sounds like it just sounds like a lot of feelings were hurt, to be honest, like from Chiesa's side of things, which again, you gotta as a player, you gotta understand, yeah, like it's not easy to hear that, the team's looking to move you on, didn't whether they did or didn't offer you a contract extension at the money he wants. Again, it's ultimately in the end up to Fede how this is all going to play out because the team's already made up their mind. So it's just a matter of team and player coming to agreement on how they're gonna, move on from it.
Yeah. Norby coming in here. What would be the starter against Como if Todibo and Coop are coming only? So those are the additions. Who starts in the opening match? If all things stay the same and only Todibo and Koopmeiners join the squad, my starting lineup, I would imagine, would be, Di Gregorio, Danilo on the right, Bremer. I believe Todibo starts. And then you have Cambiaso on the left in the midfield. Douglas Luiz, Koopmeiners, and Locatelli, I believe, would start. And then I think you would see Chiesa, Yildiz, and Vlahovic. I would probably think it'd be something like that. I believe if Chiesa stays, ultimately we're probably going to play him, to be honest. We run the piss out of him if he's going to join Inter. and just burn them right up this year?
So I'll go with. I'll assume Chiesa is out and he'll leave because it seems more likely now. So Di Gregorio, I think Danilo and Bremer will be the two center backs. I think Cabal will start left back and Cambiaso on the right. Midfield, I don't know. I don't know if we'll go with De Locatelli, Thuram, Fagioli, or Koopmeiners, or Douglas Luiz get thrown. I mean, we need to see them play a bit more. And Yildiz, Wea, and Vlahovic in the starting attackers.
All right.
Yeah, I think I like the four at the back with Danilo on the right, Cambias on the left. I think Todibo, if we get him, he is going to start. Although, I mean, it's the first game, so maybe Mota says, you know what, not enough time to see
Yeah,
him
it
in
depends
his
where the
system.
deals are made.
Yeah, it just depends on how quickly, right? But I'll throw him in there beside Bremer. And then I'm under the assumption we're going to play a 4-2-3-1, so a two-man pivot. So I'll go with Luca and Luiz back there. Up top for the three attacking mids, we'll have Coop behind Vlahovic, and then Wea and Yildiz. Yildiz on the left, Wea on the right. So
Yeah.
that's the lineup.
Man, we got so many storm the barn. You guys have been unreal today. Okay, I'm gonna skim through some. Others will tackle in the green room, and it'll be like we'll do a members only video, whatnot, and tackle some of the extras here. There's a ton. You guys have been incredible today, but
By the way,
we'll tackle just a few here.
Skira posted a list of all the Juve players that are on the market, like 30 minutes ago. If you want to go through it later.
Yeah. So real quick, projected lineup. It's not. So the projected is this, and this is out by Tuttosport, and it is Di Gregorio, Savona on the right, Gatti and Cabal as your two center backs, Cambiaso on the left, Locatelli, Thuram as the pivots, Fagioli ahead of them, Wea on the right, Adzic on the left, and Vlahovic up top. And I said that Adzic can play as your winger, and I got some heat for it, saying, no, he's a 10. I'm like, he could play on the wing, and he has played on the wing. I'm actually going to have eyes on him out there. But that is the projected lineup, Guys, today, again, another preseason. It's about growth, but you're starting to see a little bit more of who could be the regulars in there to start this one. I am going to expect, obviously, better today. And I'm not going to go AWOL on it because, that discussion was had after the first preseason game. But, we'll see we'll see how it goes and whatnot. But I'm going to have eyes on Adzic. I'm going to have eyes on Wea again. And I'm going to have eyes on Cabal and Savona. Those are the four I'm definitely going to have eyes on. I want to see Cabal in that center back role from the start of a game. Savona, I just want to see more from him. Adzic, I want to see more from him. And we get the wings very much involved. We saw that in the first preseason game. So now I really want to see what Adzic can bring. And I think we're going to get him on the ball more. We had an issue in that first preseason game finding those guys centrally. Even in the second half, like Fagioli, Caviglia, we weren't getting them on the ball enough. Even Adzic wasn't on the ball enough. I want to see what he can do from that wing role. And I want to see Wea continue and see what he can do. So those are the guys I'm going to have eyes on. But again, preseason, taking it lightly. But I am rocking a watch along. Hope to see you all there for it, okay? Game is televised on their website, Juve's main website. But there are links for certain countries that are exceptions that you could find on Juve's official website. Guys, who are you going to have eyes on in this preseason? What are you really looking for it, Trim?
Well, I'm interested in always to watch the young guys because they're unknown to me, like Adzic, Cabal, Savona. If Rui gets some game time, I didn't see who's on the bench for the squad list, but basically most of the young guys, and then. Like I said earlier, I'm really interested to see what Luiz looks like if he gets in there. Doesn't sound like he was in that starting lineup, was he? No. So he'll come in probably second half, which is nice to see. And yeah, I'll have eyes on those guys mainly. And then again, just seeing kind of like I know you alluded to this the other day, Al. Like, what are we going to look like with Mota's training after so many weeks now, or another week of training under him with his system? What's it look like? Is it all coming together? Is it becoming more robotic, more ingrained into their minds? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for today, and I do expect a way better showing. They will play a lot better today. I'm confident of that.
Yeah. Omer.
Yeah, so aside from the obvious ones, Douglas Luiz, Yildiz, whoever, I will look to Mbangula and Savona. From what I've seen from the first match, those were the two who seemed like a cut above the other next gen players, a bit more ready for maybe not first team material, but more ready than next gen. So
Yeah.
I would look to those guys, and Bangula is an interesting one because we are lacking wingers. If he can be a surprise coming out of next gen, that would be nice.
Yeah. Just to offer a little bit of depth, but then again, let's see the versatility of Adzic today. Vlahovic will have eyes on him. Will have eyes on him, and to see if he can adapt. This keeps coming up. It's one of the concerns, Let's see how it goes, but we'll see what happens. As far as where it's being televised, like I said, on Juve's official website. However, there are certain countries that are excluded. If you are in the U.S., it's going to be CBS. Okay, so CBS will air it in the States. All right, now as far as the rest, we're just gonna probably rock those in a green room because we did run a little bit of overtime, but there's a lot of moving pieces to this window. There's a lot of work still to be done. Is it panic mode? No, it should not be panic mode. Okay, relax, stay calm. Let's see, until Giuntoli panics, I'm not panicking. As far as the preseason games, until I see Mota on the bench losing his mind, freaking out, I'm not going to panic and I'm not going to freak out. He had his hands in his pocket the first preseason game, okay? We had like 2/3 of the guys that aren't even going to be around this season in there. Let's see. But like I said, today, you're a week moved on. You've got more of guys that are going to be regulars in there this game to start. Yeah, I expect it to be a little bit better. All right. And there is a hot take in here. We got to bring up the hot takes. We love the hot takes. Weah will bag as many goals this season as Chiesa did last season. Oh, I smell a wager coming on, fellas.
I would actually go with that. I'm still of the belief that Weah will perform. I've always said we need to give him another season. Italy is tough. Even Ronaldo said Italy was tough to get adjusted to first season under everything that happened at Juve. And not fair to judge after one season and say he's not good enough. I think it's
and we were always consistent with that one. We always said let's keep him around and still see and move him up the pitch. Yeah. Will he bag as many goals as Chiesa this season? So what, he's got to get 9? In all competitions? Did Fede get 11 all comps or 9 all comps or 10 all comps? I think it was 10 all comps.
Wait, I'll check.
So he's going to check that one. If it's all comps, we got a lot of competitions this year, so it's safe to say he could probably
hit. Like 10 and 2 assists.
He's going to get more playing
all
time
comps.
Too.
Okay, so who's jumping on that one? 10 all comps. Weah. Are you a yes or no, Trim?
I'm gonna go yeah. He's gonna score 10.
Yeah, I'll take up tuna steaks. Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna go with no. I don't think so.
Negativity.
No, not negativity. I'm not so sure he's going to be the mainstay in that spot all season. It's a big question mark there. So
I think he'll get a lot of games regardless.
I think Yildiz is going to get a ton of time too. I think, Adzic could be a wild card that takes minutes away from Weah as well. But there's an unknown about Fede. If Weah ends up being a main, is he going to bag 10? He could easily bag 10 all comps if he ends up being a main. I'm just questioning whether or not that is actually going to happen. So I'm just going to say no.
We're
But
gonna
I
call him
love the hot takes.
Mr. Coppa Italia. Maybe he's gonna bag another few braces like he did last year against
That one was a
Salernitana.
banger against
You never know,
Salernitana.
man.
Holy, that rocket.
Best goal
Yeah,
of the season.
And he
Goal of the
does
season.
have a rip on him. Man, can
Yeah.
he hit the ball? Maybe I messed up that one. Maybe I should
trying
go
to
yes.
convince you a bit here.
No, if you're gonna do something, you do it with conviction. Okay, so I'm gonna say no. But I love the hot
there's
takes,
no
you guys.
bet if we
Love the
all
hot
agree.
takes. Now, sponsorship. It's completely up in the air, buddy. Nobody has a friggin' clue. Everybody's trying to say, I heard Amazon. I heard it's not Amazon. We got NL, which was dangerously close to some serious banter material, okay? But it's not going on the kit. It's not a main sponsor. And the deal's only 1.5 million euros. So spice it up. But what we were hearing was mixed. 40 mil on the new sponsor. But then we heard 40 mil over 2 years, and people were blowing a gasket saying, what are you doing? Giuntoli, like, you're going down in sponsorship, but remember, it was reported that they were going to have multiple sponsors in order to drum up the biggest possible tally. And to be honest, if you're not going to find one that's 45 like we were getting, okay, if you're not going to find one, it does make sense to just do multiple at lower value. So let's wait and see, but it's still up in the air. For me personally,
So
guys,
three.
take the, even if it's in-house, just take Ferrari. Let's get Ferrari on there somewhere,
Yeah.
okay? Like right on the main.
3 points about it. Quick. One, it's not Giuntoli. He's not dealing with the sponsorship
It's Calvo.
stuff. That's Calvo. So leave Giuntoli alone on that one. And second of all, we're not the team we were when we had those, I don't know, 60 million, 80 million deals, like 30 million a season. And third, before Ronaldo, those were our deals. The deal with Jeep was 21 million a season. We don't have any Ronaldo caliber player to justify bringing in all this money, and you have to prove themselves to to get more money. We're not in a position to say no, we deserve 40. Obviously, we don't, because there are no offers. So 21 is fine. That's what we had before Ronaldo came in.
I'm putting my stake in the ground. I'm still saying it's Amazon. It's Amazon. They just, I don't know. That's the gut feeling
I
I've
hope
had this
it's
whole
Amazon.
time. I know there's a lot of back and forth this week. The leaked shirt, is it Photoshop? Is it not? I still think it's Amazon. I don't know why. That's just the gut feeling I've always had.
Well, Amazon, I threw out there like 3 weeks ago when we heard it was solidified and knocked in. It's not going to be good looking for me on the kit. I think Amazon, like, and I'm always thinking about the kits, but like, I'm going to be quite honest. A lot of the ones we heard about are not top tier. I have a feeling it's going to be something with Elon.
Look, it's a money thing. It's a money thing. If they pay enough money, I don't care who it is. It can be Pepto Bismol for like it's
Taco
only.
Bell.
Yeah,
I'm with
Taco Bell
I'm with
would be-
Alex though on this one, man. Like I'm telling you guys, I think
Yeah.
Amazon's gonna look like it looks weak to me on the kits. And that poor third kit, oh my god, that third kit's gonna be ruined. Get yours
I
while
already
you
got
can.
mine.
Get
I
yours
already
while
got
you
mine.
can.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
And
why
reminder,
I don't care. I already have mine.
we've got one already given away. The season hasn't even started. 3 kits have been given away. All right. The next giveaway is already there. That's why it pays to subscribe to the AJC Army. All right. Next giveaway coming up in a couple weeks, and you could potentially win both the new home and third kit. Okay. But part of it is heading over to Playback TV, joining our new room there, AJC Extra. Okay, a live show coming up, the next one in a few days' time. All right, and that's all call-in style. So not just live chat like it is on our YouTube over there. You could jump right in on stage at the click of a button. All right, so we look forward to seeing you all there. You guys, an AJC as Juve sponsor? Yeah, well, we'd be a few Chicoria short of what they're looking for, you know.
We offered Luca,
Goons.
but they didn't want him.
Luca and Lucci, package deal.
I think that's what hurt our shot, unfortunately, is we offered those bozos. God
Right away,
damn
they
it.
ripped up the paperwork.
Should
They
have
said,
offered
Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, but the kits, those are going to be collector's items without sponsors. So you guys, everybody
Oh, I'm
is
gonna
seeing a
sell
couple
it.
of the videos now. Retailers have them. They're in the back. Okay, so they're not being advertised or whatever, but figure it out. Go get yours while you can. All right, and good luck to everybody in the upcoming contest. Do whatever you got to do. Take a break, have fun, okay? But we're going to reconvene in about 4 hours' time for the watch along, all right? And I hope to see you all there. Omer, Trim, absolute pleasure as always. Everybody in the chat, hey, no time for panic just yet, okay? 16 days, that's a lot of time. Plenty of time. Relax.
Yeah.
Until we see them actually panic, I'm not going to panic, okay? Take it easy. For today, it's Juve, it's Brest, it's preseason, game number 2. See you at the watch along. Till then, fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.
Yeah.